بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم إن الحمد لله نحمده ونستعينه ونستغفره ونعوذ بالله من شرور أنفسنا من سيئات أعمالنا من يهده الله فلا مضل له ومن يضلل فلا هادي له وأشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له وأشهد أن محمدا عبده ورسوله أما بعد فإن أصدق الحديث كتاب الله وخير الهدى هدى محمد صلى الله عليه وآله وسلم وشر الأمور محدثاتها وكل محدثة بدعة وكل بدعة ضلالة وكل ضلالة في النار. We praise and we thank Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala في أوله وفي آخره, in the beginning and the end, وبنعمته تتم الصالحات. And by the blessings of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, good deeds are begun and good deeds are completed. وَمَا تَوْفِيقِي إِلَّا بِاللَّهِ. Our tawfiq and ability is only a blessing and numerous blessing from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So these words in introduction don't mean much what the brothers have presented. All praise belongs to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Our discussion today is about preparation for Ramadan. We find the famous cliche that to fail to plan is to plan to fail. And that in general, unfortunately, not to sound too harsh, sums up many of us Muslims at the moment, whether on a local level or a global level. Some of us, we think that to plan and to organize yourself is some form of non-Islamic trait. It's a form of kufr, disbelief, following the Western system or Western etiquettes. And here it should be mentioned that not all Western etiquettes are bad etiquettes, because we find there are many aspects of the wider society around us which are actually the teachings of Islam, that people have extracted them from Islam, or they're following a way of life which is close to Islam, good character, good behavior, etc. So the Muslim is the one, al-hikmatu dalatul mu'min. The believer is the one, that the wisdom is the lost property of the believer. Wherever the believer finds that lost property, he has the most right to claim it back and to implement it in one's life. And as a side point, some people try to quote this as a hadith. This is not a hadith, it's not authentic, these words to go back and to attribute them to the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, many of the ulama of hadith have mentioned. But it is a wise saying that goes back possibly to some of the companions or those who came after the companions. Anyhow, the meaning is true, that wisdom is the lost property of the believer. So our task, alhamdulillah, we thank Allah that we've gathered some good 10 or so days before Ramadan to prepare ourselves to possibly change the normal climate of the way that we organize and we conduct ourselves in our lives. So we find that minimal preparation that we begin to take in our lives, and especially towards the month of Ramadan, if we slightly flip this over to the other side and begin to reflect and begin to think that what has Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala prepared. So here we're looking at the concept of preparation. First thing we want to look at, the Quran mentions about preparation for those individuals who don't believe. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala mentions فَاتَّقُوا النَّارَ الَّتِي وَقُودُهَا النَّاسُ وَالْحِجَارَةُ وَعِدَّتْ لِلْكَافِرِينَ. Fear that fire whose fuel is men and stones, which has been prepared, or iddat, that's the key word we're focusing upon, or iddat, which has been prepared for the disbelieving individuals. Thus you find that the stance, the creed, the aqeedah of Ahl Sunnah is al-jannatul haqq wal-naru haqq. Paradise is the truth, is a reality. Likewise the hellfire as well has already been created by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and will be filled after the day of judgment. So here we find a'adadtu u'iddat lil-kafirin, something which has been prepared for the disbelieving individuals. Numerous other ayat inside the Quran that we find, inna Allah a'adda lil-kafirina 'adaban muhina. Inna Allah a'adda, indeed Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has prepared for the disbelieving individuals a humiliating punishment, torture has been prepared for those individuals. Likewise Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala mentioned وَاتَّقُوا النَّارَ الَّتِي أُعِدَّتْ لِلْكَافِرِينَ. Fear that fire which has been prepared for the disbelieving individuals. And a mass portion of the people upon this earth are on their way ila Jahannam, are on their way towards the hellfire prepared, created by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Likewise you find the opposite. That's the way of the Quran. If it mentions one, it mentions the opposite. So the Quran mentions what has been prepared for the disbelieving individuals, the fire. It also mentions the opposite for the believing folk. For those individuals, the Quran mentions وَسَارِعُوا إِلَى مَغْفِرَةٍ مِنْ رَبِّكُمْ وَجَنَّةٍ عَرْضُهَا السَّمَاوَاتُ وَالْأَرْضُ وَعِدَّتْ لِلْمُتَّقِينَ. Race with one another in gaining the forgiveness from your Lord and gaining the paradise whose width is like the heavens and the earth, or iddat lil muttaqeen. This occasion which has been prepared for whom? For the pious individuals. So hellfire has already been prepared, and likewise you find paradise has been prepared for the pious individuals. Likewise in the beginning of Surah Al-Baqarah that we find وَبَشِّرِ الْمُؤْمِنِينَ أَنَّ لَهُمْ جَنَّاتٍ وَبَشِّرِ الْمُؤْمِنِينَ. Right in the beginning, the first time discussion begins to take place on verse 24 or so from Surah Al-Baqarah, first time the Quran begins to discuss paradise, it mentions وَبَشِّرِ الْمُؤْمِنِينَ, give them glad tidings of rivers inside paradise and partners and spouses that will be given to them. So this is something which has already been prepared for the believing individuals. Another verse inside the Quran that we find أُعِدَّتْ لِلَّذِينَ آمَنُوا بِاللَّهِ وَرُسُلِهِ. Indeed, paradise has been prepared for those individuals, prepared for them, those who believe in Allah and believe inside or in His messenger. In a famous hadith Qudsi that we find, أَعْدَدْتُ لِعِبَادِيَ الصَّالِحِينَ مَا لَا عَيْنٌ رَأَتْ وَلَا أُذُنٌ سَمِعَتْ وَلَا خَطَرَ عَلَى قَلْبِ بَشَرٍ. أَعْدَدْتُ, I have prepared for my believing righteous servants what no eye has seen, what no ear has heard, and no feeling or perception has come on the heart or the mind of any individual. And then the Prophet Muhammad, after narrating his hadith Qudsi, narrating his hadith, he mentioned the verse in the Quran, فَلَا تَعْلَمُ نَفْسٌ مَا أُخْفِيَ لَهُمْ مِنْ قُرَّةِ أَعْيُنٍ جَزَاءً بِمَا كَانُوا يَعْمَلُونَ. No one knows the reward or the recompense that will be given to these individuals, which will be a coolness, a tenderness for their eyes. جَزَاءً, recompense, reward, بِمَا كَانُوا يَعْمَلُونَ, because of the actions they used to do where? Inside the hereafter, in the akhirah, or upon this dunya. Upon this dunya. This is the recompense, the reward that will be given to those pious individuals on the day of judgment. So this is, in this introduction, trying to make our mindset to begin to think about preparation. This is what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has prepared for those people who disbelieve. This is what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has prepared for the people who believe. And likewise, then we find a more specific preparation in the month of Ramadan. That Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, we find that all the gates of paradise are swung open. All the gates of paradise are swung open, and all the gates of Jahannam are locked. And the shayateen, the devils, are chained inside the hadith, Marwahu Imam Bukhari and Muslim, inside their Sahih, in their authentic collections. And all the doors of paradise are open, meaning that there's more opportunity for a person to come close to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, more chance of the individual. Doesn't mean that necessarily everybody who dies in Ramadan will definitely go into paradise. There's more chance of that individual, because of the month of blessing and focus and devotion, the person has more opportunity to go towards the path of paradise. And the doors of Jahannam are locked. That doesn't mean no one's going to end up going to Jahannam. And the devils are chained. That's what many individuals pose this question, that how come some people still end up doing evil even in the month of Ramadan? Here the ulama have given various explanations. Amongst them, they've mentioned that the devil, the smaller devils, are chained. As for the ru'asa, the main devils, they are still free lurking around. But as for the smaller soldiers that you find, they are all chained up. Others have mentioned that when a person does evil inside Ramadan, then this is their own inner self. Their own essence within themselves, which is corrupt, comes out. Because a decent individual, in the month of Ramadan, will become vigilant about themselves. But a person who's corrupt, as we're going to talk about, some people, they hate Ramadan. They get upset when it's the month of Ramadan. So their corruption comes out. So this is blameworthy totally upon their own selves of the evil action that they carry out in this blessed month of Ramadan. Likewise in a hadith in Sunnah Imam Tirmidhi, going back to the concept of preparation, when it is the first night of the month of Ramadan, a caller calls out, O seeker of good, aqbil, come towards that goodness. Then another caller, or the same caller, calls out, O seeker of evil, of bad actions, then restrain yourself. And every single night, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala frees an individual from the fire. And that's every single night. So imagine, this is the preparation of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, telling one of the angels to call out to people to come towards goodness, also to call out to the people to stay away from evil. And every single night, a neck an individual is freed from the fire and entered into paradise, in hadith and sunan of Imam Tirmidhi. Likewise, you find that the reward is multiplied. You find this hadith Qudsi, indeed, that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said that all of the actions son of Adam are for him, except for fasting. It is for me, and I will recompense the individual. Now here, this hadith on face value sounds strange, because we all know as basic Muslims that all of our actions are to be done for whom? For Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So why in this hadith Qudsi is it mentioned that Sawm li, as-siyam li, fasting is for me and I will reward the individual? When the Quran mentions قُلْ إِنَّ الصَّلَاةِ وَنُسُكِي وَمَحْيَايَ وَمَمَاتِي لِلَّهِ رَبِّ الْعَالَمِينَ لَا شَرِيكَ لَهُ وَبِذَلِكَ أُمِرْتُ وَأَنَا أَوَّلُ الْمُسْلِمِينَ. Say my praying, my sacrifice, my living, my dying is all dedicated towards Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. That is the symbol, the call of a Muslim. Total devotion towards Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So why in this hadith is it mentioning, when we all know all of our actions should be directed towards Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala? Once again, ulama of hadith had mentioned, is the reason why such wording has been mentioned is because when you pray, you're visualized by people that you pray. You perform Hajj, you're visualized by the millions who are around you. Even give charity in secrecy. Somewhere along the line, the person you gave money or you helped, they may mention it, that the person helped you or done this. But when it comes to fasting, no one knows that you're truly fasting illallah, except for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Because that person has fear of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Person could eat secretly, go downstairs to the kitchen, eat something, and pretend to their family, I'm still fasting. So thus the reward is multiplied to such a level. Because the level of taqwa, the person, because there can be no signs left of the individual. Who knows? I remember when I was growing up, many young individuals, you'd be with them and you're fasting, they're eating all day long. And then when they're running home saying, Mom, I'm starving, I'm hungry, I've been fasting all day. You've been eating all day long. And now you're trying to pretend at home you're fasting. I'm suffering. It's been a long day. So the real Muslim is the one who understands that they're abstaining from fasting, from eating and drinking, a marital relationship for the sake of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So thus the reward is multiplied many times over, that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala give recompense for the individual, because that person is on a higher level of commitment, of devotion, taqwa towards Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Likewise in hadith of Bukhari that we find, the person he abandons his food and drink and desires because of me. Fasting is for me and I will grant recompense for it, and a good deed is rewarded 10 times over. And other wordings or other ahadith you find many times over, as much as Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala wants. Even the smell, the breath, that foul odor that comes out from our mouths, because medically it's been proven when the stomach is empty, that you find this odor will begin to develop. That some of us Muslims, we shy away from the fact, or you try to hide, whatever it may be. There's no harm. We are Muslims. This is something that refreshes the body. It tunes the body a full year of eating, 11 months of eating, drinking, enjoying a normal life. So now the body needs to be refreshed once again. So as many Muslims, or some Muslims, who take a modernistic approach, they begin to give their own symptoms, because we're surrounded by non-Muslims. My breath may have a foul smell, so I'm not going to fast. I'll just fast on the weekend. Those type of people, don't call me Muhammad, call me Mo, don't call me Jamil, call me Jam. But then, this type of attitude that we have, I do pray, but I pray at home. When I come home, and I pray Asr, Maghrib and Isha in 5 minutes, and then I go to sleep. But during the daytime, because I'm surrounded by non-Muslims, I can't really display myself as a Muslim. Or petty excuses that maybe the toilet is dirty, or a non-Muslim walks by me and distracts me. These are excuses. Do you really think Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is going to accept excuses like that on the Day of Judgment? So these type of Muslims will believe that because non-Muslims will worry about the foul smell, most of them, you can smell their mouths or comes out their mouths anyway, not to disrespect them. There's either cigarettes or drugs or alcohol or whatever it may be, comes out of their mouths. So our smell is a natural smell. But remember towards Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, that you find وَالَّذِي نَفْسِي بِيَدِهِ لَخَلُوفُ فَمَا الصَّائِمْ أَطْيَبُ عِنْدَ اللَّهِ مِنْ رِيحِ الْمِسْكِ. That foul smell, if we can call it a foul smell, in front of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is better than the smell of musk. So remember that. Think about Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. In front of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, that smell that comes from our mouth, that in front of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is better than the sweet smelling fragrance of musk that we find. So imagine this is the general preparation by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and the specific preparation of month of Ramadan. Now let us flip the other side of the coin. And what is our preparation now for the month of Ramadan? Just like we began with, that many Muslims on a local level, on a global level, we were ill-prepared. The Quran mentions, وَأَعِدُّ لَهُمْ مَا اسْتَطَعْتُم مِّن قُوَّةٍ وَمِن رِبَاطِ الْخَيْلِ. Prepare for them all forms of steeds of warfare. No one here is encouraging warfare, but ulama mentioned that a people and nation who are ill-prepared for warfare are ill-prepared for everything else inside their life. And if you study this concept in great detail, you'll understand what I'm referring to. Developed nations have an army. They don't necessarily have an army to attack people or whatever it may be. That's why you find many countries, it becomes a form of a legal concept, like in France that you find, if you live in France, you have to legally serve in the army for a year or 2 years. It's a law. In Egypt as well, if you graduate, it's the law of the country, you have to serve in the army. You know what it creates? It creates discipline. That's what many of our Muslim youth that they lack. They talk a lot about a lot of big things, but to get up in the morning, you'll see in Ramadan, isn't it? Most people will spend at night, whatever it may be, talking, eating and drinking, and then they'll sleep all the way till when? Till Dhuhr. Then from Dhuhr go back to sleep all the way. Now you've got nice sleep now, isn't it? All the way till Asr. And guess what? For some of these young individuals, that's what their life all revolves around. There's no higher limits. There's no higher focus. Oh, but I'm praying 5 times a day. I'm fasting. Well, guess what? There's millions of people out there in the world who pray 5 times a day and who are fasting like you. And in circumstances more difficult than us. And they still try to earn a living, trying to follow a career, follow education, have a better life. So what's so special about us now? Just because we happen to be living in the West? No, we should move higher limits, higher grounds. Be disciplining ourselves that we want to change the concept of the future, or the difficulties that we're facing, that we need to begin to strive more. And instill within our youth higher limits and expectations. Many developed nations and countries, they haven't got there over a day and night. Rome wasn't built in one day, one night. It took a long time to build Rome. Yes, it was destroyed in one night in the killing of Julius Caesar, or whatever it may be. But to build Rome, it took a long time. So to build the Muslim empire once again is going to take a long time. To indoctrinate people with the right teachings and the right focus. That from amongst us once again, that there will be people who rise once again. If we have lofty goals and lofty aspirations. So a Muslim is one who plans their life. Yes, it may be once you begin to plan, your life is taken away. But there's no harm in that, in planning for our lives. You find even if the day of judgment comes, it begins to take place in front of your eyes. You have some seeds inside your hand. Should you throw them away? The Prophet Muhammad advised that if the day of judgment comes, you have seeds inside your hand, you should plant them in the ground. It's the day of judgment. Are they going to grow? No. لا تحقرن من المعروف شيئا. Don't despise any good opportunity in your life. That's what a Muslim is. Whoever does an atom's weight of good will see it on the day of judgment. Whoever sees an atom's weight of evil will see it on the day of judgment. We find that Emaan is some 70 odd branches of faith. All of us know the highest level of faith is what? La ilaha illallah. Wa adnaha, the lowest level of faith is imatatul adha anil tariqi, to remove an obstacle away from the path. What we see all day, rubbish, litter, a twig, something in the path, remove it. That's a branch of Emaan. So some of us think only the upper level is just, that's all that Emaan is. No, Emaan is your conviction in to do certain actions to show your conviction. Islam tells us you have to pray, you have to fast, you have to do these actions. Not like some of us are becoming, we just begin to make simple statements. Simple statements that I believe. قالت الأعراب آمنا قل لم تؤمنوا ولكن كونوا أسلمنا. The Bedouin Arabs were boastful. They said that we believe. The Quran rebuked them. It says, you have not believed, but say you have only submitted. So many of us, we don't even show a path of submission towards Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And likewise, we find the differences, the usual differences that begin to take place, the sighting of the crescent, the sighting of the moon. When the Prophet Muhammad saw the moon, the crescent, what did he begin to say? Allah, bring upon us in this month a month of peace, of security. My Lord and your Lord is Allah. That's the beginning of his month, that he is preparing himself, that let me be focused in this month. or we're bickering, we're arguing about Salatul Taraweeh, how many raka'at is it, whether to pray like this Imam or that Imam. These arguments, with all fairness, these arguments have been taking place for how long? For more than 1,000 years. So some of us, we think, we read something, praying this is good and praying that is bid'ah, whatever it may be. Some of these arguments have been taking place for more than 1,000 years in the fuqaha. So what makes us so full of ourselves to make sure that now we're going to remove this straight away? There's certain ara al-fiqhiyah, certain Islamic rulings and regulations that you find, and amrul wasi', the affair is open in them. That a person at times has to be tolerant towards the other side of the coin, as they say. Just because we may be taught with a certain view, with the sheikhs and the teachers that we have, that doesn't necessarily mean that the opposite view is incorrect. Because strangely enough at times, as you begin to study and develop more, the people who have an opposite view to you, guess what? They rely upon exactly the same evidence that you rely your evidence upon. The ruling that you deduce from a hadith is exactly the same hadith that they use to take their own ruling. So what do you do now? And as you find Ibn Taymiyyah wrote a famous Raful Malam and A'immat al-A'lam, wrote a famous book, Removing the Blame from the Noble Scholars, and listed reasons why scholars may differ, what may begin to take place. The hadith could be strong in front of you, in the ulama that you respect and you follow, and it could be in front of another group of ulama. Guess what they say about the hadith? And now da'if. It could be famous ulama, Ibn Hajar al-Asqalani, Imam Suyuti, Imam al-Dhahabi, famous ulama, who could say, this hadith in front of us is da'if. What do we do now? What's the response now? So at certain instances of Ramadan, some of us just end up wasting our Ramadan in bickering amongst ourselves, which is quite sad. That a person should be focusing upon themselves, where a person has the ability to advise, to change, to correct, to rectify, then khair, there's goodness in that. But just to become a fitna monger inside the masjid and outside the masjid, this is an etiquette which has become common practice for many of the youth, many of the shabab. That's all that they're good for, inside Ramadan, and unfortunately inside Ramadan and outside of Ramadan as well. So we need to go back and assess ourselves that this Ramadan, that our focus is what? What is our focus going to be? We want to make positive change. There are certain characteristics and behavior and etiquette person presents, and people will listen, inshallah. People will change. But if we become aggressive in our view and aggressive in the way we want to change people, then this will only be detrimental to one's own self. Likewise, we find that we continuously, many of us, the average Muslim, we get stuck or we get stung from the same hole again and again. So every Ramadan it comes and goes for many years, and we're continuously making the same mistakes again and again. Many of us Muslims, we know amakin shar, we know the places of evil and bad company or bad friends or whatever it may be, bad relationship. But after Ramadan, we return back once again to doing the same things. Maybe there could be a lack of conviction, a lack of sincerity inside our hearts in the way that we're making tawbah towards Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. We're not here referring to a sin that many of us can return back and commit sins. We're talking about something which is clear-cut, something which is detrimental, which is harmful. Because unfortunately, you find some Muslims, they become what's known as Ramadan warriors. Just like you have Yawm al-Jum'ah, people come rushing to Jum'ah, but then the rest of the time don't pray. Likewise, Ramadan, you have these Muslims so eager, may grow their beard and look the part and everything. Come Ramadan, everything goes out the window. What some ulama mentioned, documented, a person who makes an intention, I will only be a good Muslim in the month of Ramadan. Here we're not talking about an average Muslim, we're all going to sin, we're going to make mistakes after Ramadan, whatever could take place, it could happen. But we're talking about here a person who specifically says to themselves inside their heart, in this month of Ramadan, I will be a good Muslim. I'm going to pray, I'm going to fast, switch my phone off, stay away from this, stay away from that, you know what I mean? But as soon as Ramadan is over, guess what? Hey guys, I'm back. If a person makes that intention, you know what fuqaha mentioned? فَصِيَامُهُ بَاطِلٌ. Think about that carefully. We've got 10 more days to go, or maybe slightly more than to rectify our intention. If some of us young individuals or even elderly individuals have got that intention, your 29 or 30 days of fasting are a waste of time. The words are not sinful. فَصِيَامُهُ بَاطِلٌ. Your fasting is null and void. Finish. You're wasting 29, 30 days of your life. So think about that deeply. If you know someone or you've got that intention inside your heart, you need to rectify that intention. It's not something trivial that you're thinking, I'm just going to do this in this month of Ramadan and go back to what I'm doing. You can see many of the Muslim youth, and may Allah forbid, look at many of them, they don't have that much Emaan inside themselves, that on the first day of Shawwal, the final day, the end of Ramadan, on that night, this is common practice, it isn't exaggeration. In the house of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, we have to restrict our language, but there are going to be many young individuals who collect their drugs, collect their alcohol, where they're going to fornicate, and what they're going to do on those blessed days. That's becoming more and more a reality, and they're trying to say, oh, this is enjoyment, this is celebrating Eid, or whatever it may be. This is celebrating Eid. This is what you call celebrating, remember Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala with muharramat, with haram things, doing such actions on blessed days at the end of Ramadan, throwing everything away that you may have done inside Ramadan and falling into, and many of these individuals have a bad death on those blessed days. And many times people come to us and say, look, we want you to participate in the funeral and say a few words. We don't say any words. Because as far as ulama are concerned, this is known as su'ul khatimah, as an evil ending. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will judge those individuals. It's not for us to send anybody to hellfire or to paradise. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will judge. But su'ul khatimah is evident. Person dies 4 o'clock in the morning, in a state of drunkenness, intoxication, hanging out their car, dead individual, and try to come and say to us, oh, he was a good lad. He was just enjoying himself. What, 4 o'clock in the morning, driving around the West End, stacked your car, crashed your car, girls inside your car, and then come and tell us that we're some blind individuals, we don't know what you're doing on the streets, and say he was a good lad, he just happened to be out and about. No. This is becoming more and more intolerant inside the society. The ulama, the Islamic have to be harsh towards the people, to send out a strong message that don't play games with the Sharia of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And that's why in the Quran it begins by mentioning right in the beginning, after the first 3-4 ayat which talk about the believers, then it talks about the next 1 or 2 ayat about the disbelievers. You know the rest of the journey of the Quran, the following 11-12 ayat, you know whom it talks about? Because for some of us, when we come to Salatul Taraweeh, we don't seem to understand the language of the Quran. It spends the next pages or talking about whom? The munafiqun, the hypocrites. يُخَادِعُونَ اللَّهَ وَالَّذِينَ آمَنُوا وَمَا يَخْدَعُونَ إِلَّا أَنفُسَهُمْ وَمَا يَشْعُرُونَ فِي قَلُوبِهِمْ مَرَضٌ فَزَادَهُمُ اللَّهُ مَرَضًا. That's how the Quran begins. These individuals trying to deceive, trick Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and those who believe. They only trick and deceive whom? Their own selves. وَمَا يَشْعُرُونَ. They cannot even perceive it. Inside their hearts there's sickness, and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has increased that sickness inside their hearts. That's not the type of Muslim that we want to be. Inside Surah Al-Baqarah you find some powerful ayat inside there that many of us, if we understood the language of the Quran, it mentions كِتَابُ اللَّهِ وَرَاءَ ظُهُورِهِمْ كَأَنَّهُمْ لَا يَعْلَمُونَ. Throw the book of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala behind their backs as if they don't know. That's what happens to many people after Ramadan. Just go straight out the window. أَفَتُؤْمِنُونَ بِبَعْضِ الْكِتَابِ وَتَكْفُرُونَ بِبَعْضِ. Do you believe in part of the book and reject another part of the book? That's what happens to many of us Muslims. Then we talk about the state of the Muslims. The answer is quite simple. إِنَّ اللَّهَ لَا يُغَيِّرُ مَا بِقَوْمٍ حَتَّى يُغَيِّرُوا مَا بِأَنفُسِهِمْ. Allah will never ever change a condition or state of a people until they don't change their own selves. And that's a reality. That most people, yes, Islam may be rising, there's a, what they say, a renaissance or a resurgence of Islam, Sahwatul Islamiyah, as they say. There may be, but at the same time, there are many, many people who are far away from the deen of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And you can see that in Ramadan. Where does everybody come from all of a sudden? Laylatul Qadr, a point where you don't find space. You've never seen these people ever in your life, but everyone is rushing, saying, make sure you come to Laylatul Qadr. And according to Ara al-Fiqhiyya, according to ulama, there's no strong proof that Laylatul Qadr is what? The 27th night. That's the stance that the Imam should teach to people, that this is good to come to the masjid last 10 nights, the odd nights, etc. But there is no concrete proof that every single year that the 27th is Laylatul Qadr. Rather, we find in a hadith inside Muslim or in Bukhari that we find, if not mistaken, that the Prophet saw inside a dream that he was prostrating in mud, because obviously the masjid that he had constructed or built was made of palm leaf fibers. That was the roof. So if it began to rain heavily, then water would come through and seep onto the ground, and you find the ground will become muddy. So he saw in a dream that he was prostrating in mud. So when he relayed that to his companions, that was the 21st, because it rained, and that was the 21st night of Ramadan. So here the ulama mentioned that here's proof that any Laylatul Qadr can be the 21st night, can be the 23rd, can be the 25th, can be the 27th, and can even be the 29th. And especially if we differ when Ramadan begins. So now look, go back, what does that mean now? That every single night in the last 10 nights should be what? Should be focused. Especially many of us, because we're differing, aren't we, between this country, that country, whatever it may be. And there is no concept. Some people want to come and, politics becomes a great big bandwagon in Ramadan. Some people, they should fear Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. You have the rest of the year to talk about politics. Or to come in the masjid, so-and-so is this, so-and-so is corrupt, and to come and spend your efforts outside the masjid. Or they're changing the day of Ramadan because it's the king's birthday, or he's doing this. This is all kalam, farigh. It's all a waste of time. Okay, it's all a waste of time. There's no proof that so-and-so tells them to change the days. And even the ulama inside the blessed lands have clearly stated, you fast with the majority of the people inside your country. If it differs with Makkah and Medina, no harm. Even if it differs by 2 days, 3 days, you fast with the masses of the majority inside your own country. Simple. So their fatwa inside their countries, what some people are trying to push, that they're impressing that the whole world needs to fast with them. They understand there's a time difference. There's a time zone. There's different lands. There's different visualization based on the hadith. Sumu li ru'yatihi. Fast when you visualize it. When you visualize it, that meaning that every country will have its own sighting of the crescent, and it will change depending on the location. So they don't impose upon any individual. They say that you fast with the masses of the people inside your country, and you break your fast, even if they happen to be, guess what? Even if they happen to be wrong. Even if they happen to be wrong, you fast with them, the masses of the country. So you travel to a different land now, and they fasted a total different day. From our blessed country, we fast 2-3 days later. I was there once, they fasted 2 days after. Everybody in the world has started Ramadan. They started different days. Some of the brothers, they were upset. And the fatwa was given to them, or what they researched, that they have to fast with us. Because that is the day that the country has begun, and you fast with them, and you break your fast with that land or with that unique area. So we all know for a fact that هذه الدنيا مزرعة للآخرة. This world is a planting ground for the hereafter. So we have to take the right opportunity to benefit during these days and during this opportunity upon this earth. As you find in the hadith, as-salah ila as-salah, wal-jum'atu ila al-jum'ati, one prayer to another prayer, one jum'ah to another jum'ah, one Ramadan to another Ramadan, kaffaratun lima baynahunna, majtunibatil kaba'ir, is an expiation of the minor sins that takes place. As long as the person avoids the major sins. What does hadith mean? In today's language, the ulama have explained, one prayer to another prayer. So you pray one prayer, go back to work, go back to your family, your iman is slightly drops, it changes, doesn't it? That's natural. The adhan is given again, once again you revitalize your iman. So the effects of one prayer takes you to another prayer. That's why you find that prayer is short, in the meaning that the effects of iman are short. Likewise, Yawmul Jum'ah, the effects of Jum'ah don't last till you walk out the masjid of the door. The powerful, the khatib, the imam, that's why you find the Prophet, his eyes would redden, and his voice would become angry, and he would say harsh words on the sermon to wake the people up, to, as we find, to stir up their hearts, their emotional feelings, and to make them shed tears as they're visualizing paradise or visualizing the hellfire. That impact of that khutbah that you hear, unfortunately for many of us, we just walk out the back and there it goes. The impact lasts all the way until when? Until Yawmul Khamis, until the following Thursday. And guess what? Hey presto, in the morning is what? The Yawmul Jum'ah. That's the impact. Likewise Ramadan, the 29-30 days of fasting, the impact of that iman of 29-30 days of tuning yourself, of purifying yourself, the impact goes all the way until when? Till now. Till Sha'ban. And guess what? As our batteries begin to drain, most of us are eating normally, drinking normally, living a normal life. Guess what? Ramadan comes in again, and once again we enter into a life of spirituality and devotion once again. So we find, Inna sa'yakum lashatta. However, all of us, our directions are different. It's quite sad, just like in life, everyday life, our directions are different. Even at times in the month of Ramadan, our directions are different as well. There are some people, مَنْ يَسْتَقْبَلْهُ بِالضَّجَرِ. There's some people who meet the month of Ramadan with discontent and displeasure. Don't be surprised, there are literally Muslims, when Ramadan comes, they are upset. They are upset that I can't eat in public. Obviously in the Western world you can eat and drink in public, no one knows, etc. But in the Muslim lands, it's a great big taboo. You find that shops, restaurants, everything is closed, finished. If you walk in the shop trying to buy something to eat, unless you convince them that you're traveling or something, nobody will really serve you. And most shops wouldn't be open. So some people, they find it a great big, any discontent inside their heart. Now I can't go out openly, I can't eat, can't drink, can't go out at night, because everybody says on a religious tip and everyone's praying and fasting. So they're unhappy. They are literally unhappy that it's now the month of Ramadan. So then some of them, what do they begin to do? مَنْ يَسْتَقْبِلْهُ بِالسَّفَرِ وَالْهَرَبِ. Some people begin to meet the month of Ramadan via excessive traveling and running away. Don't be surprised, you find some Muslims will intentionally leave a Muslim environment and try to use the excuse, you don't need to fast when you're traveling. This is true. But once again, it goes back to what is your intention. If your intention is to come out of a Muslim environment so that you can't fast and you don't need to fast, then your intention is an evil intention. There are some people who meet the month of Ramadan with excessive food. All the people now, they're probably talking at home, make sure that the freezer is full with samosa and chicken tikka and this, that, and the other people are getting it prepared right now, aren't they? And when you open the freezer, one samosa is missing, all hell breaks out loose. Boy, fill up that fridge once again, that one samosa packet has gone down. So some people, that's all they're worried about. And in Taraweeh, you're trying to pray Taraweeh, you hear a burp and you can smell it, biryani, this, that, and the other. Some people, they can't even pray. They've eaten so much. And you actually should be eating after Taraweeh. In some of the masjids, unfortunately it's quite sad to mention this, normally straight after Adhan of Maghrib, what do most masjids do? Straight away they pray. But guess what happens in Ramadan? There's 7, 8 minutes, 10 minutes for you to have a nice snack and then to pray. That's the sunnah every time for Maghrib. Bayn al-adhan wal-iqamah, there should be rak'atayn. There should be 2 units of prayer. Whoever wants to pray them, get ready, make wudu, come into the masjid, prepare themselves. But in Ramadan, you find 10 minutes are given now for people to have a light snack or whatever it may be. Not to say it's haram, but look at the mentality. Likewise, Fajr, for many masajid, what happens? It goes all the way to what? The earlier time. Because it's convenient, you're already up, so you may as well pray Fajr at the earlier time. The rest of the year, the Fajr is prayed when? Right at the last time. Why is it prayed right at the last time? Yes, it may be convenient, may be acceptable, but we find the prayer is to be prayed when? At the beginning time. أَحَبُّ الْعَمَلِ إِلَى اللَّهِ سُبْحَانَهُ وَتَعَالَى. The most beloved action to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is as-salah ala waqtiha. The prayer at its beginning time, right at its due time, is the best time. But now we can see how in Ramadan, everything in it is flipped over. And then you find, fourthly, the category that we should be searching for is those who meet the month of Ramadan with happiness, with contentment. Maybe it's not been a good year of sinning, of mistakes, of being out of focus. That this Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has given me another opportunity to better myself. Just like if we began a lecture with at-tawfiq min Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. That if Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala loves an individual, then gives that individual opportunities to do good actions. وَالَّذِينَ جَاهَدُوا فِينَا لَنَهْدِيَنَّهُمْ سُبُلَنَا. Whoever strives in our paths, we will open up our paths for those individuals. So the person makes that sincere intention, and all of us, we hold that intention, inshallah, inside our heart to become a better individual, to become more focused. This is the ideal opportunity, the month of Ramadan, to make those positive steps towards change. Because the whole environment is a very easy environment. The way you may have found it difficult before, but now you can find it a lot more easier. Like we find with people who may not be praying on a regular basis, take that month of Ramadan to begin to become more punctual in their prayers. And the reason why we mention this is because especially in our culture, you find that many people will fast, but they don't pray 5 times a day. And many people will rush to pray Salatul Taraweeh, and they don't pray the daily prayers. To pray Taraweeh is highly recommended. But technically, not that we're encouraging this, but just to teach us all, to help us to understand how sometimes we mix everything up. Technically, if you did not pray Taraweeh, so after Isha you did not pray behind the Imam, whether 8 or 20 or
if you follow the view of 36, and there's some more statements as well. If you do not pray Taraweeh, you was tired, it's a long day, the summer days, you've got work in the morning, you have an exam, you have to travel, you have to do something, you're not feeling too well, you want to rest. Technically, if you do not pray it, you are not sinful. Okay, we're not encouraging that. We're not saying that now, so people say, right, I heard it from the Shaykh, I'm not going to pray Taraweeh. No, technically, you're not sinful, but it's highly recommended, you should come and pray it. Now, many people rush and carry out this highly recommended action, and they don't pray 5 times a day. Some of us, we believe that if I don't pray Taraweeh, guess what they believe? They believe we can't fast in the morning. Okay, that's a common belief. If I don't pray Taraweeh, I can't fast in the morning. That's why many of the people, they flock, especially from the subcontinent, they flock to read their prayers on that intention, and that's incorrect. And likewise, you find that if you are not, some ulama have mentioned, and these are harsh words, this is only to wake us up. Once again, if you're fasting and you're not praying 5 times a day, then once again your fasting is invalidated. Okay, that's just to highlight the severity of the affair. We're not pushing anybody away. If you're not praying 5 times a day, no problem. We're just highlighting the severity. In a Muslim land, that is the stance of a lot of ulama, that you fast and you don't pray. Your fasting has been invalidated because prayer comes before the fasting and was legislated before fasting. So that's another thing we need to, this Ramadan, to work upon that, inshallah. That if I'm doing this good deed of fasting, etc., then why am I not praying? Why am I taking the opportunity to make sure, likewise, and just as we began with, to plan, those who have work, have career, then book your holidays for when? For Ramadan. The last 10 nights of Ramadan, or more days in Ramadan that you can perform it, you can be away. Don't non-Muslims have the schedule? As we began with, can't you book now? You could. Those people in 2007 have booked their Olympics holidays, haven't they? Some people even booked their tickets from then. Yes, we think they're crazy. That's discipline at the end of the day. Whether they make it or don't make it, that's irrelevant. Same with us Muslims. So if you know that this year Ramadan is going to fall at this period, you know how it's going to fall in this period, then take that opportunity. Then you can take your annual leave, you can take those days, especially many of the youth at the moment will be on holidays, some holidays from school, from college, from university, a prime opportunity to focus more, home in more upon Ramadan, and to reap and eat the benefits of bettering oneself. So those days of ibadah strengthen you when you return back to the wider community. So thus you find that the ulama of the Salaf, you find they were happy, they used to rejoice. The month of Ramadan has come, and after the month of Ramadan, they should ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to accept these legally actions from us. Possibly some of the reasons, before we take some questions inshallah, the reasons why if we could find these hurdles regarding Ramadan is ta'alluq al-qalb bi-shahwa, is that the heart, our hearts, many of our hearts living inside the West, have got tuned to desires and temptations. Remember, this is a very difficult disease to overcome. There's other temptations of life, a person can overcome them. But when desires enter deeply into the heart, that becomes a great big obstacle in the life of the individual. Likewise, you find shahwatul man. Love of wealth makes it difficult, burdensome for the individual. You need to spend their money. The Prophet Muhammad in the month of Ramadan is described as Jawad, Nasin, the early morning breeze. Anything that was given to him is give it away, give it away, give it away. Imagine that was the Prophet Muhammad, give it away. What do we have? Just giving it away, giving it away. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will bless the person with more wealth and more wealth, more enrichment. Look at Abu Bakr Siddiq. How much of his wealth he gave away and how much of it returned back in another form. And thus the person takes that opportunity. That wealth remains in your hand, doesn't enter into your heart. It remains inside your hand, it will always benefit you. It enters into your heart, it will be a form of destruction. That's the Quran mentioned, لَن تَنَالُوا الْبِرَّ حَتَّى تُنْفِقُوا مِمَّا تُحِبُّونَ. You will never ever attain piety. So piety isn't to dress in a pious manner, to pray in a pious manner. Look what the Quran mentions. حَتَّى تُنْفِقُوا مِمَّا تُحِبُّونَ. Till you don't spend of the things that you love. You read the tafsir of this ayah, the tafsir of Ibn Kathir, explanation of this verse, that you find that Abu Talha, he had a garden. This garden was known by everybody in Medina. Even the Prophet Muhammad would drink from the well, from the water of the spring, and would eat the fresh dates. When he heard this ayah, that you will never attain piety until you don't spend the things that you love, he said, Ya Rasulullah, all this garden, you know my garden, all of it is in the way of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Imagine that. That's the level of Iman that entered into their hearts, that they gave everything in the way of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. I'm not saying that we should not give everything away, but the point is that you try to remove that shahwa. Likewise, find shahwatu ta'am, a love of food, makes for some of us difficult. You need to fast in Ramadan. So this is a time to tune the body. Think about the fawaid of fasting that ulama have mentioned is to reflect upon the poor individuals. How many of them, not just for 1 month, but for many years of their life. Brothers, the water that we drink, and it is pure water, inshallah. The water that they drink is contaminated. It's mixed with mud, with filth. They have no choice but to do what? But to drink it. So we should be thinking this Ramadan, the food that we enjoy with our families, all of us, I'm sure. None of us can say in this country that I don't have a good Ramadan in terms of eating and drinking. That take some work and some opportunity to send some money away to those people. Buy them some gifts for Ramadan. Don't get involved in the political dimension that don't give to so-and-so, don't give to so-and-so. You stand all alone in front of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And those poor children, those poor orphans, those poor families, those poor women, that we're all going to dress well and eat well on the days of Eid, etc., send them a gift. Send them a gift, send them some money. And you may not recognize it in your life, but those poor people, and we all are in need of dua of those poor people. But when they raise their hands and they say, oh Allah, bless this person who sent this wealth, who sent this food, who sent that clothing. Imagine that. Dua, supplications coming for us, benefits coming for us for just doing something so simple. And we all have these opportunities in our life. But many of us become hesitant in trying to gain that opportunity inside the month of Ramadan. And finally, conclusion that we mentioned, this is a month of tawbah wa istighfar, a month of tawbah, of istighfar, of taqwa. The whole theme of Ramadan in the Quran, يَا أَيُّهَا الَّذِينَ آمَنُوا كُتِبَ عَلَيْكُمُ الصِّيَامُ كَمَا كُتِبَ عَلَى الَّذِينَ مِنْ قَبْلِكُمْ لَعَلَّكُمْ تَتَّقُونَ. Fasting has been prescribed for you, as it was prescribed for those people that came before you, that you may attain taqwa, consciousness of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. That's a generic theme inside the Quran. Actions have been placed there for you to gain God consciousness. That's the intent of many of the actions. If we don't gain that, it becomes an evidence against us. So the actions we're doing should bring us a taqarrub ila Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Likewise, another benefit of Ramadan is azmu sadiq. Each one of us should make a strong resolution to be focused, because the Quran mentions, talk about Ramadan, ayyaman ma'dudat. These are restricted, set days. Because none of us know if we're ever going to come back to another Ramadan. So a person has to have azmu sadiq, a strong resolution, commitment. They're going to be focused this month of Ramadan. Next we find dua ila Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala lil'awni, for ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to give us the tawfiq and the ability. Actions that we do, no one should think, oh, this is because of my own self, my own mentality, my own strength, my own ability. No. It's all from whom? From Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. That's the Quran mentions, وَإِذَا سَأَلَكَ عِبَادِ عَنِّي فَإِنِّي قَرِيبٌ أُجِيبُ دَعْوَةَ الدَّاعِ إِذَا دَعَانِ فَلْيَسْتَجِيبُوا لِي وَلْيُؤْمِنُوا بِي لَعَلَّهُمْ يَرْشُدُونَ. If the servant asks about me, I am close. Call upon Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, call upon me, and I will respond to your call and rectify your affairs. So if a person sincerely calls upon Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in the month of Ramadan, this ayah is mentioned all in the context of Ramadan, calling upon Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Likewise, we find another benefit that we all need to reap is tilawatul Quran, is recitation of Quran. The Quran itself, it mentions, talking about the context of Ramadan, shahru Ramadan, الذي أنزل فيه القرآن هدى للناس وبينات من الهدى والفرقان. The month of Ramadan is the month of the Quran. Imam Malik will leave all of his durus, all of his teachings, all of his lecturing, everything, and spend the whole month focusing upon what? Upon the Quran. People are always asking what to do in the month of Ramadan. Just home in, focus in upon the Quran. Read the Quran, study the Quran, read the tafsir, implement the Quran, memorize the Quran. Because the greatest tool, the greatest weapon for your Iman, after belief in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, is the words of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Wherever you go, if you have those words inside your chest, inside your mind, then you will be inshallah a successful individual. And if you understand those words, إِذَا تَفْهَمَ الْقُرْآنِ, you understand the words of the Quran, then that makes you a powerful individual, in the sense that you're able to protect yourself from the munkar, from the evil, the harm around you, because you have these words of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala within your heart, and comprehend them and understand them. So that's when the person comes follows the Quran inside Taraweeh. If you don't understand the Arabic language, then my advice to myself and the rest of you respected brothers and sisters is to go home and to read that chapter. Read that juz of what's being read. And also because we can read English inshallah fluently, we'll possibly go ahead of the Imam. So when you come the following day, when you hear وَإِذْ قَالَ مُوسَى لِرَبِّهِ Musa said this, you will have read it. You don't need to be an expert in Arabic. But if you read it, you think, yeah, right, it's on Surah Al-Baqarah, it's talking about this context about Musa alayhi salam. This is Surah Yusuf, talking about Yusuf, the story of Yusuf alayhi salam. But if you're not bothered to read it, you're just going to be standing there, drifting away. That's what some ulama mentioned, based upon the hadith, a person gains only what? Fatigue and tiredness. Inside the Taraweeh, there's no benefit for them. So the person comes engaged that I'm going to benefit from the Quran and the words of the Quran. So if you read a juz every single day, by the 29th, 30th day, you will have completed one reading of the Quran. If you follow the Imam for 29 or 30 days, you would have heard the Quran for a whole month. That's 2 Qurans. And if you read the Quran in a language you understand, not to say that's the Quran, but that could be possibly 3 Qurans. So imagine that in 1 month. If a person, inshallah, and he does that inshallah. Inshallah, we'll stop there inshallah to take some, possibly some questions or some corrections inshallah. Barakallahu feekum, subhanaka wa bihamdik. Ashhadu an la ilaha illa anta astaghfiruka wa atubu ilayk.
Barakallahu feek, Sheikh. May Allah reward the Sheikh for coming down, giving us such an inspirational talk and making us think at the same time, alhamdulillah. Firstly, I'd like to apologize. I know I said that we're going to have a break in between the 2 talks, but alhamdulillah, as things were running quite smoothly, we thought we'd just continue straight through. So the refreshments will be after Maghrib for both brothers and sisters, if you guys can last that long, okay?
Preparation for Ramadan, no more inshallah. To fast to Maghrib anyway, inshallah.
Okay, so we're going to go straight through to the question and answer session. Alhamdulillah, the sisters have many questions to ask, which is always good. So we'll start with a sister's question, and then we'll move on to a brother, then a sister, then a brother. I am very conscious of time, so we'll try and do this in about 7 minutes, inshallah.
Okay, so when Laylatul Qadr comes, can you make dua, but will your dua work any quickly? Obviously, many of us Muslims, we have this concept that everything is a quick fix. We live in a fast world, so you want to grab something to eat, go to McDonald's. You want to take money at the bank. As one of the sheikhs went to America, just go for a drive-through bank. And if you want to get married and get divorced at the same time, go to a drive-through church. That's what they have in the States. So obviously, some of us, we think, as soon as I pray to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, the response should be given instantly. At times, the response is given instantly. At times, the response is stored for the individual. At times, a calamity could be before the individual is removed, and something else is given to the individual, or the reward will be given inside the hereafter. Likewise, Ibn Qayyim al-Jawziyah, he mentions, a famous scholar of Tazkiyah, of Tabib al-Qalb, a famous student, the most prominent student, Ibn Taymiyyah, rahmatullah alayhi, he mentions that a person makes dua to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, that the dua is like a sword. Now, a sword is sharp, it will always strike and harm an individual. But the impact of the sword depends upon the usage of the sword. So the prerequisites of the person, the strength of the arm, the ability to use it, comes into play. So dua is a sword. Silahul mu'min is the sword, the weapon of the believer. But the way the sword is used and understood is where many of us don't understand. The way to make dua to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and we may think that we're doing the right dua, but at times we're not. Likewise, he mentioned that dua is sometimes a person carries on making dua, and the response is very, very close. Because at times Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala wants to test the individual. In the beginning, in the science of dua, in the first journey, your dua is answered instantly. But as your iman begins to develop and as you begin to mature, your dua is delayed. To begin to see that, are you really committed? Are you really focused? Do you really believe? Because just like, excuse the expression, like a child. If every time the child asks for something, you give the child something, the child becomes what? A spoiled brat. Okay? So many of us Muslims, we are spoiled individuals. We think we are the chosen children of God, as they say. Okay? That's what many Muslims, they think. The Quran is very deep. The Quran uses certain words inside the Quran. ضُرِبَتْ عَلَيْهِمُ الذِّلَّةُ أَيْنَمَا ثُقِفُوا. Indignity has been smashed upon them wherever they go. Yes, that may be talked about a certain group of individuals, but ulama tafsir mention of ulum al-Quran, al-ibra bi-umum al-lafzi, la bi-khusus al-sabr. The ibra, the lesson, is to be taken from the generality of the words and not from the specifics of revelation. So we, as Muslims at the moment, are living under the wrath of God. Most Muslims don't want to think like that. You know, read Surah Al-Fatiha at least 17 times a day. Guide us to the path of those who you have not sent astray, or those who have earned your anger. You know, many of us are under the anger of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Aklu riba, devouring the eating of interest, of loans, of mortgages. All throughout the Muslim world, muntashira, al-banuka ribawiya. You know what the Quran mentions? Only one sin inside the Quran. You commit zina, you drink alcohol, you steal, you lie, you cheat, you rob, commit homosexuality. Mentioned inside the Quran. You could be forgiven, could be pardoned. One sin inside the Quran mentions. If you enter that into your life, then know that Allah and His Messenger have declared war upon that individual. Some Muslims, we don't think. We think American war upon us, or this war, Bush and war, this is a war. Yes, possibly it could be true. Have we ever sat down and think that Allah has declared war upon us? The corruption inside our belief, the corruption inside our actions, is driving many of us away of not earning the blessing of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So sometimes the dua is ripening, is about to drop. Like a fruit, is what Ibn Qayyim al-Jawziyah mentions. It's about to drop. Guess what happens? Many of us, or some of us, we turn away, and when we turn away, the fruit drops. And we miss it. Because we don't have the patience. Wallahu a'lam.
As a brother got a question.
You said earlier that if your intention is through Ramadan to be good, you know, but you're going back to doing bad afterwards,
That's right.
is void. I mean, for example, people have jobs that are maybe not allowed. For example, they're working an off license or whatnot. Say they stop work for that whole month, but then they go back to their job. Is that the same?
I was asking a question. I mentioned that if a person has a double intention inside their heart and in their mind, that after Ramadan they're going to go back to what they're normally doing. If a person, for example, does a haram action which is irrelevant from Ramadan, whether they do it in Ramadan or outside of Ramadan, that action does not affect